Yes, Charleston White is correct. I'm a rapper, not a dealer.
I see that Meech Home concert got the streets talking. The biggest Meech Home, the streets back. That's what I'm talking about. That's how real niggas come home and get it down. 50, who own your masters? Who own your masters? I buy your masters. You better. I will buy your masters.
50 Cent is back at it, and this time he's taking aim at Big Meech. Reports just surfaced claiming Rick Ross scammed Meech out of a massive $120 million deal, and 50 wasted no time turning the whole situation into comedy. According to the reports, Ross came in talking big, promising Meech movies, major projects, and a Hollywood-level comeback. But when the smoke cleared, none of those promises materialized. No films, no big checks, nothing. And now, instead of being the boss everyone expected after his release, Meech is left looking broke and betrayed. 50 Cent has been clowning him relentlessly, posting jokes, memes, and sarcastic comments about how Ross sold him a dream. Fans are eating it up, but others say the humiliation is getting so bad that the only way this ends is with Meech stepping into a boxing ring with 50 to settle it face to face. The whole thing started right after Big Meech got out. The streets were buzzing, expecting a legendary comeback. That's when Rick Ross slid in with his flashy talk, hyping up a $120 million film deal and claiming Meech's story would dominate Hollywood. There's even a clip floating around of Ross making those promises with all the confidence in the world. But instead of a blockbuster empire, Meech ended up with nothing but empty words and broken promises, while 50 Cent uses the fiasco as fuel for more trolling.
Yeah, so look, I do want to do a BMF film because you've been entertained by a lackluster, small budget series. Now it's time to do a big budget film. Which director? Shout out to my homie F. Gary Gray, Antoine Foucault, what's up? Tarantino. It's a lot of legends. This is gonna be big, I can feel it.
On paper, it looked like Big Meech was finally about to cash in on his legendary reputation. Rick Ross came through talking big numbers, selling Meech on dreams of a $120 million movie deal and a Hollywood takeover. To the public, it sounded like the perfect partnership: Meech's name, Ross's industry connects, and a chance to rewrite history. But the reality, Ross never delivered a thing. No contracts, no cameras, no checks. Instead, he basically used Meech's name as leverage in his never-ending rivalry with 50 Cent. While Ross was busy hyping up movie deals that never existed and using the association to boost his own image, 50 was the one quietly putting in the actual work. It was 50 Cent, not Ross, who poured real money into the BMF story. He's the one who made sure the television show happened, fronted the budget, and even paid out of pocket for Lil Meech's acting classes so he could carry the role. That wasn't just talk, it was receipts, actions, and results. And it's not just 50 himself saying it. People close to him, people who've been in the room, vouched for the grind. Tony Yayo in particular broke it all down, making it clear who really invested in Meech's future and who just threw smoke in the air. In the end, Ross gave Meech nothing but empty promises and a temporary PR boost. 50 gave him a platform, a paycheck, and a shot at legacy. And now, with reports exposing Ross's failed promises, the internet's having a field day watching 50 flip the situation into another round of trolling.
But when you take Little Meech and you put him in fucking acting school, you know, you take him from Detroit. I remember him rapping when he was rapping and nobody was helping him from what I seen. Cause I remember when Lil Meech was rapping. Nobody helped him, and then 50 put him in acting school, kept it on the low, and he made all this money. You understand what I'm saying? But to be young and have money is crazy, because we was young and had money before, so I understand. Motherfucker got Richard Millie's, Lil Meech got Richard Millie's Chrome Heart jeans, 10,000. I buy some Chrome Hearts for 10,000, I might wear them shits for a month, bro.
Now, the latest reports suggest Big Meech is frustrated, strapped for cash, and slowly realizing that Rick Ross only attached himself to the BMF name as a way to get at 50 Cent. What was supposed to be a power move is starting to look like a bad joke, because instead of leveling up, Meech is stuck looking like a pawn in somebody else's beef. But the broken promises were only the first red flag. Things really spiraled when Meech's son, Lil Meech, got pulled into the mess. Just days after leaked texts surfaced where Lil Meech was allegedly saying, F. Ross, *, he was suddenly spotted hanging out with Rick Ross at a nightclub, and not just hanging out in the background. The viral clip showed Lil Meech and Ross shoulder to shoulder, whispering in each other's ears like close friends, smiling for cameras, and even posing for photos together. The whole club was bathed in red light, bottles on the table, music blasting. While the two looked like they were locked in some kind of private understanding, fans couldn't believe it. The same guy who was supposedly trashing Ross in leaked messages was now seen cozying up with him in public. To a lot of people, it looked messy, like another chapter in a story where the lines between loyalty, business, and clout chasing are getting harder to tell apart. And of course, you already know 50 Cent wasn't about to let this slide. The second that video of Lil Meech and Ross hit the internet, 50 jumped online and pulled out a classic from his troll playbook. He joked that Ross probably told Lil Meech to give him his father's address so he could send over some Wingstop chicken. Think about that, your family drama being turned into a fast food punchline. Classic 50. Brutal, but effective. And as funny as the Wings jab sounded, it was more than just shade, it was a message. What 50 was really saying is that Ross isn't actually helping Meech or his son. He's just feeding them scraps, keeping them entertained with nothing of real value while making himself look good in the process. But then, 50 took it a step further, and this is where things got heavy. Out of nowhere, he dropped a now-deleted post that gave fans a whole different perspective on Lil Meech behind the scenes. According to 50, he personally had to send Lil Meech to rehab. He claimed Meech was showing up to set high, even throwing up during a weapons test because he was too lit to function. And it didn't stop there. 50 revealed they even found whippets in Lil Meech's truck. 50 admitted he didn't even know what whippets were. At the time, he had to Google it just to figure it out. That detail alone painted a picture of how far things had spiraled, with 50 stepping in to play the responsible role, trying to keep Lil Meech's head straight while his own father was apparently encouraging the same reckless behavior. To top it off, Lil Meech went on to get himself arrested at an airport, not exactly the type of headlines you want when you're trying to build a career. Put it all together, and it paints a messy picture. While Ross is out here hyping up vibes and clout, 50 Cent is the one cleaning up the damage, making sure the BMF legacy doesn't completely fall apart.
Okay, you understand that?
Can I call my mom or somebody?
We'll do that after.
Okay.
All right, just turn around for me, be cooperative. Everything's on video and audio surveillance. Plus, I'm on body cam. You understand that?
Sure, yes, I understand.
Okay.
Once 50 Cent put all that out there, the rehab claims, the airport arrest, the whippets, people started connecting the dots. If 50 really did step in and save Lil Meech's career from crashing before it even took off, then why on earth is Meech cozying up with Rick Ross now? Why turn your back on the guy who gave you the platform? That's when another voice jumped in and made the situation even uglier. Michael Rainey Jr., better known as Tariq from Power, decided to speak up. And if you know anything about Rainey, he's not one to sugarcoat. He hopped on IG Live, just casually vibing with fans, when someone in the comments asked him if he felt bad for Lil Meech. Now, most people in that spot would have ducked the question, played it safe, or given a diplomatic answer. Not Rainey. He went straight savage mode. Instead of sympathy, he came with raw honesty, basically clowning the idea of feeling bad for someone who, in his eyes, was biting the hand that fed him. His tone wasn't just dismissive, it was cutting, the kind of response that lets you know there's real tension behind the scenes. And with Rainey being such a close part of 50's Power universe, fans immediately read his words as a direct extension of 50's stance. The live blew up fast, sparking a whole new wave of debate online. Was Rainey just being loyal to 50, or was he exposing how people in the inner circle really feel about Lil Meech's choices? Either way, the moment took the drama to another level.
Do I feel bad for Lil Meech? I don't feel bad for no grown man on this planet. Like, I'm a grown man. Why the f I gotta feel bad for another grown man? Like, you a grown man too. What you asking for my sympathy for? You be alright. Oh,
That clip of Michael Rainey Jr. going savage spread like wildfire across social media, and guess who wasted no time reposting it with a laugh? You guessed it, 50 Cent. He didn't just share it either. In true 50 fashion, he doubled down, echoing Michael's words in his caption and making it crystal clear that he was backing his power star all the way. The message was loud and direct. In 50's eyes, Lil Meech was weak. The timing couldn't have been worse for Meech. By co-signing Rainey's comments, 50 made it look like Meech was losing respect, not just from outsiders, but from the entire power circle people who had been part of the machine that helped keep his name alive in pop culture. Suddenly, the image wasn't of a legendary comeback, but of someone slipping further and further out of control. But here's the thing, this tension didn't just appear overnight. It had been bubbling beneath the surface for a while, and a major flashpoint was Big Meech's failed Welcome Back concert. When Meech finally came home, the streets expected fireworks. Fans thought it was going to be an iconic moment, an event packed with star rappers, big performances, and a celebration of a legend reclaiming his place. Instead, things went sideways. Rather than keeping 50 Cent, arguably the man who turned the BMF story into a television empire, in the mix, Big Meech leaned on Rick Ross to push the show. Ross stepped into the spotlight, promoting the concert like it was about to be one of the biggest cultural moments of the year. There's even a clip floating around of Ross hyping the event up, selling the dream to fans who were convinced they were about to witness history. But what was supposed to be legendary ended up exposing cracks in the foundation, cracks that 50 Cent was more than ready to call out.
February 13th, the Big Meech home benefit concert. It's gonna be iconic. Too many names to list, but let me salute some of the legends. Lil Baby, Boss Man D-Lo, 21 Savage, Sexy Red, Ricky Rose. Now, this the first time it's ever been done. Me performing BMF with the icon himself. This shit gonna be special.
Epic.
Get your tickets right now.
I'm back.
That move turned out to be a disaster. The Welcome Back concert, once hyped as Meech's big return to the spotlight, completely fell apart. The event never even happened. And for 50 Cent, that was the breaking point. To him, it wasn't just a failed show, it was disrespect. 50 had carried the BMF story on his back, turning it into a hit television empire, funding Lil Meech's acting career, and keeping the name relevant in mainstream culture. So when Meech leaned on Rick Ross instead of him, then watched the whole thing collapse, 50 took it personally. That's when he let loose online, accusing Meech of cutting backdoor deals with the feds and openly clowning him in post after post. Fans who once treated Big Meech like an untouchable street legend suddenly started asking hard questions. Why was he cozying up with Ross, his rival's biggest enemy? Why did the concert flop so badly? To the public eye, it looked less like a comeback and more like a sellout. And 50, being the master of online trolling, flipped that perception into fact. Every meme, every caption, every joke made Meech look weaker. Instead of celebrating his return, the failed concert became the turning point, the moment people stopped writing for him. And that's when Meech finally decided he'd had enough. He clapped back in his own way, posting an old photo of him and 50 together. But he didn't just drop the picture, he slapped a giant rat emoji right over 50's face. It wasn't subtle at all. He was straight up calling 50 a snitch. And he didn't stop there. Meech doubled down, branding 50 as nothing more than an internet gangster. In other words, saying 50 hides behind his phone, trolling for clout, instead of standing on real-world respect. For Meech, it was an attempt to flip the script, to make 50 look like the fake one in the beef.
I wasn't gonna address this, because I'm not trying to let nobody trick me off the streets. But I never folded, never told, never will. Death before dishonor. Always with me.
And just when things were already messy, Rick Ross decided to pile on. Instead of staying quiet, Ross leaned all the way in, mocking 50 Cent for being upset about his link-up with Meech. To fans, it came off like a tag team attack, Meech and Ross standing side by side, with Ross co-signing the drama just to poke the bear even harder. Ross made it crystal clear he wasn't just casually supporting Meech, he was taking the opportunity to throw direct shots at 50, almost like he was daring him to react. He laughed at the idea of 50 being pressed over a photo, flipping the situation into another excuse to clown his rival, and the fans noticed. To them, this wasn't just Ross being playful, it was him fanning the flames on purpose, co-signing Meech at the exact moment the tension was highest. It wasn't subtle, it wasn't quiet, it was strategic. Check out this clip of Ross openly mocking 50, flat out ridiculing him for being mad about Meech standing next to him. To Ross, it was a victory lap. To 50, it was fuel for the fire.
You took a picture with Rick Ross. Put your back against the wall and just slide down.
But fans couldn't help noticing the irony in all of this. 50 Cent was the one who gave Lil Meech real opportunities, funding, acting classes, producing the BMF series, and creating a platform that kept the name alive in mainstream culture. Rick Ross, on the other hand, only offered photo ops and empty promises, yet somehow, Meech seemed more willing to ride with Ross than with the man who had actually invested in him. That contradiction fueled the next big rumor, that Meech wanted to fight 50 for real. After the rat post and Ross's constant trolling, the internet started buzzing with talk of a possible boxing match. Some fans hyped it up as entertainment, while others thought it was sad, a once feared street figure reduced to celebrity boxing for validation, and what really pushed the rumor over the edge was Meech himself. When asked if he'd ever swing back, he hinted half serious, half joking that he'd lace up gloves if it came down to it. That little tease was all the internet needed. Blogs picked it up, memes started flying, and suddenly the Meech vs 50 boxing narrative was everywhere. But just as the fight chatter started heating up, Wack 100 stepped in and he dropped a bombshell that flipped the whole conversation. According to Wack, this drama isn't just about loyalty or Ross. It's about secrets. Wack claimed that Meech's own confidant, Tammy Cowan, once confided in 50 that Meech had quietly cooperated with federal authorities in other street cases. In other words, Wack suggested that 50's snitch narrative didn't come out of thin air. It came from someone deep inside Meech's own circle, and Wack didn't stop there. He added that Tammy might have had her own reasons for turning on Meech. Some say she felt abandoned after he got locked up, left to deal with the fallout alone. Others believe it was business, that she was tired of Meech trying to take back control of his life rights, which she had already negotiated with 50 for the BMF series. If true, it puts Meech in a dangerous corner. Because that would mean the person closest to him wasn't just betraying him, she was actively feeding 50 Cent the ammo he's been firing online this whole time. And here's exactly how Wack put it.
Think back, you think about it, right? When you got a female that's running for you, are you in prison? Putting her life on the line, you entrusted in her to keep your secrets, right? You done signed over your life rights and all these things, right? I know the conversation as an inmate that we have with women. Baby, it's me and you, right? I gave the life rights to you. I didn't give them to my baby mama. I didn't gave them to you. I need you to do this thing, like make this happen. And she's doing all these things, right? And then he gets out of paroles to his baby mama.
Whether Wack 100 was exposing real facts or just stirring the pot, one thing was certain, it gave 50 Cent even more fuel to keep firing. The blogs ate it up, fans doubled down on the jokes, and the clowning on Big Meech hit another level. One of the biggest viral moments came not from a post or a fight rumor, but from a fashion choice. Big Meech stepped out rocking Kanye West's iconic graduation jacket. At first glance, it looked like nothing more than a vintage flex fit, a nod to hip-hop history. But fans online didn't see it as a coincidence. They caught the symbolism immediately. That jacket was tied to one of the most infamous moments in rap history, the 2007 sales battle between Kanye West's graduation and 50 Cent's Curtis. Back then, Kanye outsold 50, a loss that many still point to as the turning point where 50's dominance in music began to fade. So when Meech popped out in that exact jacket, it didn't just look like a fashion statement. To a lot of fans, it looked like a message. Some laughed it off as trolling, while others swore it was intentional, a subtle way of aligning himself with one of 50's most public defeats. Either way, the optics were brutal. Instead of looking like a boss reclaiming his throne, Meech came across like he was leaning into 50's old losses just to take cheap shots at the man who once had his back. And in the court of public opinion, that only made the circus louder. What stood out the most wasn't what Big Meech did, but what 50 Cent didn't do. Normally, 50 would be the first one to screenshot a goofy pose, roast a questionable fit, or flood Instagram with clown emojis. That's his signature move. But this time, silence. And that silence spoke volumes. Fans immediately
Big Meech came
picked
home,
up on it,
people
convinced
expected
50 was
fireworks.
holding back on purpose. Because when 50 skips a roast, it usually isn't out of mercy, it's strategy. It means he's saving ammo, waiting to line up a heavier shot, something that'll hit way harder when the timing's right. At this point, it's obvious, this isn't just trolling anymore. 50 has locked in on Big Meech like an obsession. Most beefs in hip-hop fade with time, posts get deleted, people move on, new headlines take over, but not this one. With Meech, every single move is met with a counter. Every rumor, every sighting, every slip-up gets dragged into 50's spotlight. The question is why? Some people say it's betrayal after all. 50 was the one who gave Lil Meech his shot, built him into a television star, and kept the BMF name alive. Watching him turn around and cozy up with Rick Ross, 50's longtime rival, probably cut deeper than most fans realize. Others argue it's bigger than betrayal. For 50, it's about power. 50 doesn't just want to win beefs. He wants to crush opponents so thoroughly that nobody else even thinks about crossing him. Letting Meech slide would look weak, and weakness isn't something 50's built for. So if this ever does move off Instagram and into the boxing ring, it won't just be entertainment. It'll be the climax of a feud that's already gone too far. On one side, you've got a man fighting to protect his legacy. On the other, someone willing to throw it all in the fire just for clout and laughs. And with the way things are going, it feels less like a wild rumor and more like the next move just waiting to happen. Drop your thoughts in the comments and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more.